Hey guys, welcome back. Many students, those who are going to write 10th board exams, are worried about what are the most important questions for the board exam and how to write answers in order to score full marks in the exam. Dear students, both the aspects are covered in this video. Watch the video till the end and write your valuable comments. Let's start with today's session. Here is the first question. What are the different ways in which glucose is oxidized to provide energy in various organisms? This is most frequently asked 3 marks question. While writing the answer, we can write the subheading like this: breakdown of glucose by various pathways. Here is glucose. Glucose breaks down into pyruvate in cytoplasm. Okay? In cytoplasm of the cell, glucose will break down into pyruvate and some amount of energy is released. And this is called glycolysis. Glycolysis is a series of reactions which lead to breakdown of glucose into pyruvate and some amount of energy is released during this process. Now, pyruvate will further break down into different products in different pathways. If we look here in yeast, in the absence of oxygen, in yeast, in the absence of oxygen, pyruvate will break down into ethanol plus carbon dioxide and some amount of energy is released. Okay. Now, in our muscle cells, okay, pyruvate will break down into lactic acid and some amount of energy is released. This is because of lack of oxygen. Okay. Now, in mitochondria, the third condition, in mitochondria, pyruvate is breaking down into carbon dioxide and water. This is complete breakdown. This is complete oxidation of pyruvate. Okay. So these are the end products. This is called aerobic respiration. This is in presence of oxygen. This is in presence of oxygen. So, this is how glucose will break down into different products in different pathways and energy is released during the process. Here, this third mechanism, this is the first one, this is second, and this is the third. This third one is in the presence of oxygen, so it is called aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration. Okay. Now, this is in the absence of oxygen, so it is anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration. Okay. If the respiration process occur in presence of oxygen, it is aerobic respiration. If it occurs in the absence of oxygen, then it is called anaerobic respiration. And here also it is because of a lack of oxygen, so it is also anaerobic respiration. Okay. So this is how breakdown of glucose occur by various pathways. So this will be the answer. If you write these points, you will get 3 marks. Okay. So let's now proceed with the next question, that is question number 2. How much energy is released when the terminal phosphate linkage in ATP is broken using water? Okay. When the terminal phosphate linkage in ATP is broken, how much energy is released? The answer for this question is, when the terminal phosphate linkage in ATP is broken using water, the energy equivalent to 30.5 kilojoules per mole is released. This is again one of the most important question for 1 mark. The answer for this question is energy equivalent to 30.5 kilojoules per mole is released. Okay. Now, here is the next question, question number 3. How is ATP formed in cells? How ATP can be used in the cells of an organism? Okay. How is ATP formed in cells? For this, the answer can be written like this. The energy released during the process of respiration is used to make an ATP molecule from ADP and inorganic phosphate. This can be represented like this in the form of equation. ADP is adenosine diphosphate and this is inorganic phosphate. Here, energy released during respiration process is utilized and ATP molecule is formed. Okay, so this is how ATP molecule is formed in cells. Okay, so for this, the energy released during respiration process is utilized. Okay, now the continuation of this, the second part of this question, how ATP can be used in the cells of an organism. For this, the answer is ATP can be used in the cells for the contraction of muscles. Okay, for the contraction of muscles, protein synthesis, okay, and conduction of nerve impulses and many other activities. Okay, ATP is energy currency of the cell. ATP is called energy currency of cells. Okay, so for all the activities in the cells, ATP is utilized. Okay, so this is how you can write the answer for this question. This question can be asked for 3 marks. Now, moving to the next question, that is question number 4. The rate of breathing in aquatic organisms is much faster, okay, than that seen in terrestrial organisms. So here is a comparison between aquatic organisms and terrestrial organisms. Okay, so the question is the rate of breathing in aquatic organisms is much faster than that seen in terrestrial organisms. Why? This question can be asked for 2 marks and we can write the answer in this manner. Since the amount of dissolved oxygen is fairly low compared to the amount of oxygen in the air, okay, the rate of breathing in aquatic organisms is much faster than that seen in terrestrial organisms. So this is the answer. Okay, since the amount of dissolved oxygen is fairly low compared to the amount of oxygen in the air, aquatic organisms depend on dissolved oxygen and terrestrial organisms depend on oxygen in the air. So obviously, as the amount of dissolved oxygen is fairly low compared to the amount of oxygen in the air, the rate of breathing in aquatic organisms is much faster than that seen in terrestrial organisms. So this is how you can write the answer to score full marks. Okay, now moving to the next question, that is question number 5. Now moving to the next question, that is question number 7. The upper part of the respiratory tract is provided with small hair-like structures called cilia. Okay, how are these structures helpful to humans? So what is the importance of cilia present in upper part of the respiratory tract? This question can be asked for 1 mark. Now let's discuss how to write answer for this question. Okay, the cilia present in upper part of the respiratory tract help to remove germs, dust and other harmful particles from the inhaled air. The inhaled air contains many things, like it can contain germs, dust, other harmful particles. Okay, if they are inhaled as such, they may cause damage to our respiratory system. So the cilia present in the upper part of the respiratory tract, they remove all these harmful germs, dust and particles, okay, so that our respiratory tract is maintained in a good condition. It is protected from infections and the harmful particles. Okay, now this is how you can write the answer for the question number 7. Now moving to the next question, question number 8. When the body size of animals is large, the diffusion pressure alone cannot take care of oxygen delivery to all parts of the body. Explain. This question can be asked for 3 marks. Now, how to write answer for this question? Diffusion is actually, it is a spontaneous movement of molecules from their higher concentration to lower concentration, and it is a very slow process. It is a very slow process. Okay, if diffusion were to move oxygen in our body, it is estimated that it would take 3 years for a molecule of oxygen to get to our toes from our lungs. Okay, so from lungs to toes, okay, one oxygen molecule, if it is diffused, it will take 3 years duration. Okay, so that much a slow process is diffusion, so it cannot fulfill the oxygen requirement of all parts of the body. Okay, it cannot take care of oxygen delivery to all parts of the body in the animals that have large body size. Okay, so the diffusion pressure alone cannot take care of oxygen delivery to all parts of the body. Instead, the respiratory pigments take up oxygen from the air in the lungs and carry it to tissues which are deficient in oxygen before releasing it. Okay, so these respiratory pigments, these in humans it is hemoglobin. Okay, now so these respiratory pigments, okay, they take care of oxygen delivery to all parts in the body. So this is how you can write the answer to score full marks for this question. Now moving to the next question, that is question number 9. Dear students, here is question number 9. How is oxygen and carbon dioxide transported in human beings? This question can be asked for 3 marks and the answer can be written in this manner. In human beings, respiratory pigment is hemoglobin, and this hemoglobin has a very high affinity for oxygen, so it transports oxygen. Okay, now actually hemoglobin combines with oxygen and forms oxyhemoglobin. Okay, now so this is how oxygen is transported to different parts in the body. Okay, now this hemoglobin, the respiratory pigment, is present in red blood corpuscles. Okay, that is RBCs. Okay, RBCs have hemoglobin and that is a respiratory pigment, and it is transporting oxygen as oxyhemoglobin. Okay, one hemoglobin combines with 4 oxygen molecules. That is how hemoglobin has very high affinity for oxygen. Okay, now carbon dioxide is more soluble in water than oxygen and is hence mostly transported in the dissolved form in our blood. Okay, though little amount of carbon dioxide can be transported by hemoglobin, major part of the carbon dioxide is transported in dissolved form in our blood. Okay, so this is how you can write answer for this question to score 3 marks. Okay, now moving to the next question, that is question number 10. What are the characteristic features of respiratory surfaces? This question can be asked for 2 marks. Okay, now answer can be written in this manner. Characteristic features of respiratory surfaces. This is the subheading. Now respiratory surface, okay, must have moist surface with large surface area. Okay, now and the respiratory surface should have the contact with oxygen rich atmosphere. Okay, now it should also be very fine and delicate. Okay, now so the respiratory surfaces must be thin and they should be delicate structures and they must be highly vascularized. Okay, now so the blood supply must be there. Okay, now they are supplied with blood vessels, blood capillaries. Okay, so they are highly vascularized, and these properties, these characteristic features of respiratory surfaces enable the efficient gases exchange process in animals. Okay, so this is about the characteristic features of respiratory surfaces. Now moving to the next question, that is question number 11. What is fermentation? Okay, and one more question in this: sudden activity causes cramps in our muscles. Why? So two questions are asked here. Question A: what is fermentation? This can be asked for 1 mark, and the answer for this question is the anaerobic breakdown of glucose into ethanol and carbon dioxide in yeast is called fermentation. Okay, earlier we discussed, like, first of all, glucose is breaking down into pyruvate. This is in cytoplasm, and this pyruvate, okay, is breaking down into ethanol and carbon dioxide, and little amount of energy is released. Okay, glucose to pyruvate, this is occurring in cytoplasm. Here also small amount of energy is released. Okay, after that in yeast, okay, okay, because of absence of oxygen, okay, now in the absence of oxygen, ethanol is formed, carbon dioxide is formed, and little amount of energy is released. This anaerobic breakdown of glucose into ethanol and carbon dioxide in yeast is called fermentation. So this is a 1 mark question. Now another question, question B: sudden activity causes cramps in our muscles. Why? Okay, so for this the answer is buildup of lactic acid in our muscles during sudden activity causes cramps. Okay, this is also already discussed, but once again, glucose breaks down into pyruvate, okay, in cytoplasm. Now in our muscle cells, because of lack of oxygen in our muscle cells, okay, lactic acid is formed. Okay, plus small amount of energy is released. Okay, so this is what we call, okay, now lactic acid buildup. Okay, so because of lack of oxygen in our muscle cells during vigorous activities, okay, during sudden activities, okay, lactic acid is formed, and this buildup of lactic acid in our muscles during sudden activity causes cramps. Okay, this is all about question number 11. Now let's proceed with the next question, that is question number 12. Okay, explain how gases exchange occur in plants. Okay, so this question can be asked for 3 marks. Okay, the subheading can be written like this: gaseous exchange in plants. Okay, plants do not have respiratory system, but gas exchange occur in plants by other mechanisms. Let's discuss how it occurs. Okay, plants exchange gases through stomata. Okay, stomata are the tiny openings. These are the tiny openings or pores present in epidermis. Okay, present in leaf epidermis. Okay, through these stomata gas exchange occur. Okay, and the large intercellular spaces ensure that all cells are in contact with air. In plants there are large intercellular spaces, and this is very much important for the gas exchange process to occur in all cells in the plant body. Okay, carbon dioxide and oxygen are exchanged by diffusion process. Okay, they can go into cells or away from the cells and out into the air depending upon the environmental conditions and the requirements of the plants. So this is how gas exchange process occur in plants. So the mechanism is diffusion mechanism, and it depends on the environmental conditions and the requirements of the plants. And in the plant body, okay, between the cells there are large intercellular spaces that ensure all cells are in contact with air, and through stomata the gas exchange occur in plants. And the mechanism here is gas exchange occurring through diffusion process. Okay, so this is how you can write the answer for this question number 12. Dear students, this is all about today's video. In this video, I discuss some of the most important questions from the topic respiration of life processes chapter from class 10 biology. Okay, if you are new to my channel, subscribe it for more videos. I'll be back with many more videos which cover important questions from other topics and other chapters. Have a great day. Thank you all.